Hi, I'm Jim Berryhill, CEO of DecisionLink. I'm here with David Kurkjian, Principal of Master Messaging. Master Messaging is a premier consultancy helping us sellers develop high-powered and high-performance messages and communicate them to our customers and prospects. David, it's good to be here with you today.
Good to be with you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and Master Messaging, what you all do.
Yeah, that'd be great. So started Master Messaging about 4 years ago on the heels of a 25, 26-year sales career. Had the opportunity to work with a number of tech startups over the last 10, 15 years. And in doing that, there was this common thread that started to play out. And that is, in new technology, figuring out how to speak about the technology that really communicates value to the marketplace. And so this common theme played out over a number of years, and I started to recognize it's a common challenge that sales organizations have. In a commoditized market, really elevating the conversation in a way that, that creates high perceived value for the prospects that they're speaking to. So that's what provoked me to make a decision to start my own business, and been very successful over the last 4 years, working with companies like Aflac and Assurance Solutions, and again, some of the smaller startups like here at Tech Village.
Great, great. Well, we've worked with David and applied principles of master messaging to what we do, and hopefully we're doing better than we were before.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So David, share with us some of the biggest challenges that you see in the selling marketplace today.
Well, it goes back to what I mentioned a few minutes ago. There was a Gartner fellow about 5 years ago that made the comment that for any business problem that exists in the world today, there's probably 3 to 5 different solutions that companies can pick to solve that problem. So we live in a highly commoditized marketplace. So one of the biggest challenges is how to, again, elevate a product or a service in a way where it's not perceived as commoditized, but for its own unique value. And the challenge that shows up in a sales organization, it's the dreaded no decision. It's going into the active pipeline and seeing that there are anywhere from 40 to 60% of the deals that are marked as stalled or no decision. And then the second consequence of really not being able to communicate unique value around your product or service is getting beat up on price. Again, if it's viewed as a commodity, at the end of the day, they're going to want to know, hey, can you give me a lower price than the last company that just walked through the door?
Right.
So those are really the two biggest challenges around demonstrating and communicating value.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's like how much time gets spent on deals of no consequence.
Yeah.
And then competitive losses because you're not able to differentiate competitively, and then getting beat up on price because you aren't able to differentiate or articulate the reason they ought to pay your price for value. Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
So David, I love the way you break down storytelling and working in a logical sequence from challenge to impacts, all the way through proof and communication. Talk a little bit about the psychology that behind decision making that you use to develop that method or that sequence for effective communication and storytelling.
Yeah, we really live in an interesting time because there's been a lot that's been discovered around behavioral psychology in the last 10 to 15 years that we really didn't know about before that. And one of the foremost renowned behavioral psychologists, Daniel Kahneman, won a Nobel Prize back in 2002, and the Nobel Prize was specifically around unlocking how human beings perceive value. And to simplify it, it really is in a contrasting world. So prospects and customers have an understanding of what their current state looks like. And as we walk in as sales professionals and start communicating with them about our products and services, they get a sense of what their future state would look like. And it's in those contrasting worlds that value is perceived. So at the heart of everything that we do, we're constantly creating conversations and messaging that creates that kind of contrast, current state and future state. And and one of the other interesting aspects of that, we expect our prospective clients to have an understanding of what their current state really looks like. But there's an opportunity to ask some very insightful questions that allow them to really see what their current state looks like. And oftentimes it's a good bit worse than what they were expecting. Yeah. So that contrast equals value really does live at the heart of the psychology behind this type of selling.
Yeah, gosh, that makes a lot of sense. We've been trying to or working through this notion of presenting current state, future state, current state, desired state, and so forth. And one of the big parts of what we're doing at DecisionLink is helping sellers and buyers quantify what's the value premise or value position of my current state and of that future state. Mm-hmm. One of our customers, the president of one of our customers said, numbers just make the conversation more interesting. But that tension between where I am and where I want to be, that makes a world of sense. Nobel Prize, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So there's an enormous conversation and energy today in the sales effectiveness, sales enablement marketplace. Speed to response, coverage, velocity, et cetera, et cetera. It almost feels like, we're carpet bombing a list of prospects as fast as possible. Yeah. And I'm not sure how effective that is, especially for business-to-business executive or non-tactical kinds of selling. At the other end of the spectrum is the strategic account management function. Mm-hmm. Businesses have material relationships. They have strategic account managers to cover major accounts, and there's a really important time and effort there. We've talked to some other folks who have said, that is really important, but our ability to quantify the value we're bringing to a relationship is not always really crisp and so forth. What are your thoughts about that that part of the world we're living in?
Yeah, you raise an interesting point. This aspect of carpet bombing prospects. The world that we live in today is already overrun by way too much information. I think one of the best currencies in today's world is getting people's attention. And so a more effective way of doing that is understanding the right companies to speak to, but even beyond that is who within that company is the right person to engage with. And the most effective way to engage is to offer insights, to offer information that has real meaning for that individual. And it's one of the things that I'm learning about DecisionLink, your ability to do both those, target the right company, and once you target the right company, understand who within that organization really is the appropriate person for you to engage in a conversation, and then using some of your insights to create that initial intrigue and interest. And then, the other thing that I'm hearing in conversations with you and the rest of your team is that once you engage in a conversation, you have the opportunity to hit them on two levels. And again, some of this goes back to the science, the psychology of selling. There's always two dynamics that are at play. You've got what I refer to as the heart, where people are paying attention to meaning and emotion for them, what this could mean for them and for their company. But there's also the logical aspect, the rational, part. And so the opportunity that you're presenting, to your clients is to get that targeted approach, create very customized messaging to the right person within, and then conduct a conversation that addresses both the heart from meaning and emotion and the logic from a business justification standpoint. And then from a strategic account management point of view, you have the opportunity in a long-term relationship to come back and remind them of the past-present value that you've created in that relationship. So much of what you've created and what you're holding out to the sales professional is a very efficient and effective method to really engage from more of a strategic standpoint and not just, fire all guns and hope something will stick.
Oh, wow, that makes sense. I really love the part about appealing to both the emotive and the rational sides of a decision. Statistics that we see from organizations like CSO Insights and Forrester and others say that sellers consider, or buyers consider that sellers do a good job on the emotional or emotive side of things 20 to 25% of the time, and on the logical or rational side 5 or 6% of the time.
Wow.
It's like, wow, that's just that's a lot of opportunity for moving the needle,
Yeah.
moving the needle in the right direction.
Absolutely.
So David, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate the partnership with Master Messaging, appreciate the help to our business and
Yeah.
our mutual customers. Wish you the very best.
Absolutely. Thank
All
you
right.
for having me.
All right, good day. Thank you.